It's impossible to statistically measure whether some decisions were wise. But in the real world, day to day, you simply don't. It's hard. It's too hard. We refer simple stories which are easy but often devilishly misleading. After spending years around investors and business leaders, I've come to realize that someone else's failure is usually attributed to bad decisions, while your own failures are usually chalked up to the dark side of risk. When judging your failures, I'm likely to prefer a clean and simple story that cause an effort because I don't know what's going on on inside your head. You had about you had a bad outcome, so it must have been caused by a bad decision. Is the story that makes the most sense to me. But when judging myself, I can make up a wild narratively justifying my past decisions and attributing bad outcomes to risk. The cover of Forbes magazine does not celebrate poor investors who made good decisions but happened to experience the unfortunate side of risk. But it all but it almost certainly celebrates rich investors who made okay or even reckless decisions and happened to get lucky. Both flip the same coin that happened to land on a different side. The dangerous part of this is that we're all trying to learn about what works and what doesn't with money. What investing strategies work, which ones don't. What businesses strategies works, what ones don't. How do you get rich? How do you avoid being poor? We tend to seek we tend to seek we tend to seek out these lessons by observing successes and failures and saying, do what you did, avoid what you did. If we had a magic wand, we would find out exactly what proportion of these outcomes were caused by actions that are repeatedly versus the role of random risk and luck that sway those actions one way or other. But we don't have a magic wand. We have brains that prefer easy answers without much appetite for new ones. So identifying the traits we should em- emulate or avoid can be agonizingly hard. Let me tell you another story of someone who, like Bill Gates, was widely successful but whose success is hard to pin down as being caused by luck or skill. Cornelius Vanderbilt had just finished a series of business deals to explain his railroad empire. One of his business advisors learned in to tell Vanderbilt that every transaction he agreed to broke the law. My God, John, said Vanderbilt, you don't suppose you can run a railroad in accordance with the statutes of the state of New York, do you? Do you? My first thought when reading this was the attitude is why he was successful. Laws didn't laws didn't accommodate railroads during Vanderbilt's day. So he said, to hell with it. He went ahead anyway. Vanderbilt was widely successful, so it's tempting to view his law of flaunting, which was no which was notorious and vital to his success, as sage wisdom. The scrappy visionary let nothing get in his way. But how dangerous is that analysis? No sane person recommend flagrant crime as an entrepreneurial trait. You can you can easily imagine Vanderbilt's story turning out much different. An outlaw whose young company collapsed under court order. So we have a problem here. You can praise Vanderbilt for flaunting the law with as much passion as you criticize Enron for doing the same. Perhaps one get lucky by avoiding the arm of the law, while the other found itself on the side of the risk. John D. John Deere Rockefeller is similar. His, his frequent circumventing of the law, a judge once called his company no better than a common thief, is often portrayed by historians as cunning business smarts. Maybe it was, but when he does the narrative shifts from but when he does the narrative shift from you didn't let outdated laws get in the way of innovation to you committed a crime? Or how little would the story have to shift from the narrative to have turned from Rockefeller was a genius, try to learn from his success, to Rockefeller was a criminal, try to learn from his business failure. Very little, very little. What do we care about the law? Vanderbilt once said. Ain't got a power, ain't got a power, ain't got a power. He did, and it worked. But it's easy to imagine those being the last words of a story with a very different outcome. The, ra- the line between hold and reckless can be thin. When we don't give risk and luck their proper billing, it's oftentimes invisible. Benjamin Graham Benjamin Graham is known as one of the greatest investors of all time, the father of value in investing, and an early mentor of Warren Buffett. The majority of Benjamin Graham's investing success was due to owning an enormous chunk of GEICO stock, which, by his own admission, broke nearly every diversification rule about Graham himself laid out in his famous text. Where does the thin line between bold and reckless fall here? I don't know. Graham wrote about his GICO bonanza. One lucky break or one supremely screwed one lucky break or one supremely shrewd decision. Can we tell them apart? Not easily. We similarly think we similarly think Mark Zuckerberg is a genius for turning down Yahoo's 2006 $1 billion offer to buy his company. He saw the future and stuck to his guns, but people criticized Yahoo with as much passion for turning down his own big buyout offer from Microsoft. Those fools should have cashed out while they could. What is the lesson for entrepreneurs here? I have no idea because risk and luck are so hard to pin down. There are so many examples of this. Countless fortunes and failures owe their outcome to leverage. The best and worst managers drive their employees as hard as they can. The customer is always right. The customers don't know what they want, are both accepted business wisdom. The line between inspiringly bold and foolishly reckless can be a millimeter thick and only visible might hindsight. Risk and luck are doppelgangers. This is not an easy problem to solve. The difficulty in identifying that is luck, that is what is skill, and what is risk is one of the biggest problems we face when trying to learn about the best way to manage money. But one thing can point out but one thing but two things can point out you in better direction. Be careful who be careful who you praise and admire. Be careful who you look down upon and wish to avoid becoming.